Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Angela Miller, and this is the Women's Work podcast on Expanded Understanding. Thank you for joining me this evening. My name is Angela Miller, and this evening we're talking about the co-creative choices that we all make. Oh, there are some things that I forgot to do. And that was co-creating in my reality and advertising this podcast today. Anyway, I hope you're all well. I hope you've had a good week. There have been some massive changes in consciousness this week, and it's all going in a bit of a dire way on a planetary level as the governments, the control systems edge their way ever closer to the different implementation. That's not different, it is a different implementation, to the implementation of a new phase to come for them. So how does this affect every woman's life? Well, I'm just going to put my glasses on and do that because we are going to look at this. And so where are we? I'm just going to share my screen. Because a lot of people think that because I am not supportive of patriarchy as a concept, that I'm some crazy feminist, which I'm not, far from it. I could be opinionated, for sure. Definitely opinionated, but most of this comes through my own observations of life, own observations that are objective, experience-based observations and findings, working in a certain way with people over a number of years. So smash patriarchy. Why? What is it? Does it even exist? So let's have a look at this. This was an interesting article that leapt out at me. In the summary of the first chapter, we have laid out a number of arguments for the necessity of feminism today. For the necessity of feminism. Well, it's a post-system construct. In the fifth world of peace, there is no need for feminism or machoism or patriarchy in either system, because the key proponent of it is peace. So I'm just going to bring that up there. Oh, that's done it there for me. That's lovely. Looks lovely. It does. So in where are we? They include violence. That's true. The lack of or suppression of fundamental rights, underrepresentation in politics, in conflict. Funny that. Poverty. True, because of the economic marginalization and the threat posed by anti-feminist movements. I don't think that there is a threat. It is the whole system as a concept that is patriarchal, where women are discriminated against and given babies to look after from a very early age, to start this conditioning of the female kind and what that actually means for the bigger society. I can't stand those words, big society. Who even invented those words? Oh, that'll be the Tory government. Okay, so what are we order? So further than those alarming threats to gender equality, I'm going to scrub out equality there and replace it with parity, because we are different. We're different biologically, we are different emotionally, but we are essentially of the same light in different forms. We also made clear why CADTM identifies the feminist struggle in its mission to fight all kinds of domination. Well, the feminist struggle originated in the heart of the Tavistock Institute, CIA, at the birth of the female what do they call it back in the day, in the 1920s, the suffrage movement, where women stood up for the vote to gain equal rights to men. These were largely middle-class women in this society, whose husbands had very well-paid jobs that enabled them to go out and initiate, support, struggles, movements, protests for women. But who paid for it? So I'm not going against the women's movements. Oh, no, I am not. But I'm saying what we should look at is the type of language that we use to describe what equality should mean for a woman. In a previous show, I went on to talk about the ladies of the who are not 60 years old in Britain, and a lot of them have had the pension age moved up by 5 or 6 years, or maybe 7 years it is now. And there are a lot of women that have paid in throughout their lives into a system through taxation. And these were the women, the children of the women, that of the middle class women that were making these choices about equality. So before a wider level of education was available, it was only available to the middle classes. And then they would have used masculine type words to define this. Now, not only women are victims of patriarchal order, they are also at the front line of consequences of debt and austerity around the world. It's true. So in any situation, the woman will go on to be, well, she may go on, chances are that she'll go on to be in a relationship and have children. That's what women are primed for, is to breed for the society. Now, I could be seen as a bra-burning feminist saying, oh, we have the right not to give birth, etc., etc. But actually, what dictates policy here are common decency expressions between each gender. Now, if we have a separation in our own genders, we both carry masculine energies, we both carry feminine energies. Now, how are these going to, and this is for everybody, this is not just me, not just a bunch of feminists, it's not just a bunch of patriarchal creators and supporters, you know, it's every human skin suit has a masculine and a feminine aspect. In men, from a very early age, they're taught not to cry, taught not to be weak, and programmed not to release emotion because it would make you feel weak if you did so. So one of the things that I find fascinating here is this level of intrinsic program into the behaviors of children. But I'm sure in loving relationships, people want the best for their children, but this isn't always the case. So how do we start this concept of separating feminism from parity? How do we do that? So parity, to me, let's get the exact meaning here. I'm just going to knock off this screen. I just want to get this exact meaning. So no digression can be made. No wrong clarification will be made. Parity. Okay. Right. This is actually it. Right. So I'm just going to bring this up again so we can see it. Good old Google has it all, apparently. I'll be shot for saying it by somebody, but who cares? I don't. So parity meaning the quality or state of being equal or equivalent. You know, bad grammar here. Women have fought for parity with men in the workplace. Equivalence of a commodity price expressed in one currency to its price expressed in another. Two currencies. This is fascinating. Two currencies are approaching parity for the first time in decades. So that raises a very interesting question. Because if we have these two currencies of energy operating through us, we have masculine and feminine. Gosh, that's just so funny. Parity for the first time in decades, two currencies are meeting. So that could potentially mean, in a very random way, you know, it has no tenuity about it, but the masculine and feminine coming together. So what happens when these are out of balance? what happens to an individual? So what happens to a woman when things are out of balance? Well, hormones are an issue. Hormones have an effect on emotional behaviours, cycles, and everything else that we tend to exist within this cyclical framework of being a woman. Now, when we look for parity, I'm not looking to turn up at the local garage or service station and be equal to the guy who has more knowledge in a specific area than I have. Or, let's clean that. I'm not looking to go somewhere into an office and become the exact equal. This is just visiting. This is not working, by the way. This is visiting an office and in an observational context. Maybe I'm just having a meeting or something like that. Would I be treated the same or differently as a female member of staff? So there are these varying degrees of importance of women. There are varying degrees of the importance of man. But how can we have true parity when people or beings are separated by class, income, the way that you live, right? Who you live with? Are you married? Do you have children? Or even these few simple things: work, children, family, marriage, right? All of these things have a control over a woman's life in some way, shape, or form. So, in fact, what happens is that we are fed the dream. Yes, we are fed a dream through the use of stories that tell us that we have to surrender to patriarchal will in some way. If we are stuck up a mountain, or in fact, here's the best one: if we are stuck up a tower, a very tall tower, and we can't get down, what do we do? What do we do about that? Do we wait? Hello, can you help me? Oh, can you save me from the top of the tower? Right. When we absorb those kinds of stories of powerlessness as women, what does that make us? What do those stories reflect to us? So, it begins early on. So the next stage of that is what happens to a child, a girl at school who happens to be exceptionally bright, but there's a brighter boy or a couple of boys who are always competing, and maybe the younger girl gets sidelined in some way, shape, or form because she's really quiet, studious. She doesn't say much. We need to take all these very early stages into consideration. I can think of times and situations in this society where women were not allowed to play rugby. They weren't allowed to play sports of a certain contact kind. And even when I was at school, you were taught to sit like a lady. I mean, really? Oh my goodness. You were taught to sit with your legs closed and tilted at a certain way whilst placing your hands carefully on your lap in a crossed over fashion. I mean, really? Why? Do we have to carry ourselves with high levels of deportment to give ourselves a sense of elation above others? So that's just another conceptual aspect of how this system works, because it does that. It promotes the ego and the separation of you and everybody else around you. So already with these early ideologies of how we should be as women affect our choices, our career choices. We may be advised that engineering, back in the day it wasn't now, they are full steam ahead. I'm seeing women in various different positions that you would not have seen 20 years ago. That's in my short lifetime, relatively anyway. Point being is that there were times where you were ushered out of a career So that was something that I felt strongly about. So I trained to be an engineer. And it's not something that many people would do necessarily. And I didn't stay with it because I didn't want to get hurt anymore. But these are things that affect our choices. If you're told you can't do something, chances are you'll go along and find the next easiest route. Already suppression vein number 234. Then the next one comes with the relationship, where you find the love of your dreams, you have an amazing connection, and then you get married, you sign a contract with state, and then boom, state expectations come upon you. Everything from how your children look, which school they go to, which pushchair or educational items they use, how far already that pushing and guiding and conditioning, the classical conditioning takes place, and already the separation has begun. So, how do we get around that? So when we as women are existing in potentially a suppressed situation, how would we analyze the levels of suppression in our lives? Right. So I would ask myself these questions. Number one, how much does patriarchy affect my life? The first answer might be, it doesn't. Many say that it doesn't. But then the program begins to get challenged. I've had this discussion with many women before. Not because I'm being facetious, not because I'm being antagonistic, because I'm asking the question, are you dependent upon man for anything? And it's not, I'm not saying man as in evil man. I'm talking about, are you dependent on man? Are you codependent? And this is the key. Because when you have children and you're living in a certain way, within the family construct of the system, you might not have lots of people around you, you might not have soul families around you, and you are dependent for your needs, or your emotional needs. And maybe because you've got lots of children or early young children that aren't able to be in nursery yet, these struggles will come back to you because your husband or partner, married partner or not, will go off to work, go and see about their daily lives in their position, their job role, their function on the planet. They will come home and you will have worked, you'd have looked after the children, and you'll be making some food. Chances are those three things, day in, day out. Now, for some younger generations, this has changed. Men are taking more of an active role in the family unit. Marvelous. That's really marvelous. And it shows parity in respect and equivalence of intent. Now, if there is no intent for any equality, you're never going to get it. And if you are with someone, and I don't mean to be the harpy of doom, if you are with someone that doesn't respect that, you are exhausted. You have children to look after. You're trying to work. You're doing much more than your partner might be at work. Yet you are paid substantially less and have less time. And more than likely going to develop some sort of health condition as a result of that stress, of that maternal stress. So how do we move out of that? How do we co-create our way out of that? Well, in those situations for younger women, be vigilant. Be vigilant about what you're getting yourself into. And that's really knowing that, and maybe looking at what other women go through. What do they go through in their family lives? Does it all appear to be very nice and good and, happy and progressive on one side, on the external side, when on the inside everything's falling to pieces. So this is the type of suppression that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about bra burning or anything like that. I'm not talking about government feminist propaganda. I'm talking about the real life experiences that most women will have on the planet. And yes, there are single fathers who will go through the same thing too. But it's always the caregiver, the primary guardian of the child that is affected. And that comes with great responsibility. There aren't two parents, that person's doing it alone. Often with state interference, monitoring the way that the patriarchal system monitoring the mother, how she looks after her child. Fascinating subject. And the more that we delve into it, the more we can subtly see the elements of those woven levels of controls into the everyday lives of women. Now, in the situation here, we have a current lockdown. How does this affect women? How does this affect women being in the home if they have little or no freedom? Well, I'm sure there are many that will enjoy staying at home. I would. I'm sure many men would love staying at home. I would. Everybody wants to stay at home. But if they are at home and the relationships aren't right, then what's going to happen? You're going to get this condensed, very tight experience of bringing up all the internal issues that have caused any form of disruption, discord, fighting, conflict, anything that takes you away from your peace. So, yeah, it's highlighting where, as women, we can make these co-creative choices. How do we co-create our way when out of a system that is currently planning to sign you up to the next phase? Excuse me, and my tooth missing. I need to find a dentist. If anyone knows one that's local to me, that'd be great. Mine's gone. A good one, not some chemical dentist. Yeah. So how are we going to co-create our way out of this? Well, you need to know yourself, and it's really performing an assessment on your lives. Where do these controls come into your lives? How do they affect your lives? Are your children, and I say this, are your children being imprinted with patriarchy? Some of you will be saying, oh, no, they are not. My children grow up in a loving environment where the father goes to work and the mother does some form of work and raises the children, unless she has a nanny or support. It's not often available for most people in the population, or they have family members that can support in those times to help everybody. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But where does that leave the woman? So the stress continues, but how does she co-create a less stressful existence where she has time, space, and peace to recalibrate her divine being? Where does she have that? How does she do it when the demands upon her are so great, she's nearly broken? How do we heal ourselves as women? Big subject. First, look at your inner self, your inner being. What's happening? How do you feel about the world? How do you feel about your position in the world? Do you feel that you are free from patriarchy? Do you feel that you are supported by patriarchy? Do you feel that it benefits your life to have your subtle rights as a female, as a divine female, be stripped away from you? The right to talk, the right to love, the right to breastfeed in public, the right to have a natural birth, the right to educate your daughters in a specific way, the right for your daughter to have the education that she wants. How do you do that as a woman, potentially with children or responsibilities that are great? First things first, you need to earmark time for self, time for inner reflection, time for inner engagement, time to know you. And very often in vulnerable situations where women have children that are young, at any age actually, under the age of 10, or if they've been in abusive relationships or raped or abused in some way, shape or form, then the woman begins to lock herself down. And when I say lock down, she begins to close off. She begins to shut herself off and build barriers from the inside, hoping that no one will see. Right? And really think about that. We've all been there, where we carried on in autopilot, hiding and cultivating the way that we really feel, because we're not allowed to say. And if we do say, no one's going to listen or understand. Now, I'm just observing the planetary strata of women in this psychic moment. And I look at where the discrepancies are, right? And they all are everywhere. Every woman everywhere will have experienced pretty much some form of domestic abuse in the home from an early age, physical or sexual abuse in the home from an early age. It could be other family members, anything, anybody. Because we're taught to be flowery and still. Then it goes on when you can't say. You're in the education system. You don't get the male words. You don't get the male the subjects. The ones that are asking you to think in linear, rational terms that don't suit your subjective experience. It doesn't compute. So you begin to gaze out the window, wherever the window is, dreaming, daydreaming. And we're told to not daydream in school. Not allowed to dream. This program is deep. And you're not allowed to dream. You can't create. You're told to stifle your dreams. Then the first boyfriends come along. Oops. So, maybe that's just my experience. I doubt it. Some have a positive experience. There are a lot that don't. And it worries me a great deal actually, that seeing young women with potentially abusive husbands and partners, boyfriends, that shout at them, put them down, act all standoffish. So the woman goes through life thinking that men are like this. But really it's down to the mothers and fathers that brought up their sons. How is your son in this world, mother? Does he respect women? Is he kind-hearted to his girlfriend? Or is he set to repeat the mistakes of his father and his father before him and his father before him? because it's carried through at a generational level. Repeating the sins of the fathers and the mothers because they didn't speak up. They stayed in relationships with the children. They stayed with partners for the wrong reasons because they didn't know anything else. They stopped listening to their inner beings. They stopped listening to their souls and began to cover up bit by bit, belief by belief, program by program, until it becomes a very dense barrier to a woman's existence. So when a woman, that's not even taking into consideration the energies that are drawn into the vagina during sex. And you might think, well, I love my partner, that's all very well, great, good. But your partner has a parasympathetic central nervous system that is going to be out of kilter, just like everybody else in humanity. They're going to be no different. They may love you, but soon, in that high frequency state of love, they're going to come down and plummet into the low depths of shadow, which the woman will receive in her during this complex alchemical moment of interaction. Emotions, thoughts, beliefs, overriding emotions, that comes through too. So we absorb that in our wombs. We absorb that at the very deepest, intimate parts of ourselves. Oh, actually, and I want to go back to this program of this very same sexual activity. In school with sex education, back in the day, and still to this day, I oppose the global sex education program strongly, beyond measure. And I deconstruct it and will continue to deconstruct it because I don't believe in it. It's rubbish. And it teaches young people how to be unsacred in their interactions. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. So moving to that point, another point about the sexual programming side of things in science lessons. We can sit in science, we can learn all about the biology of the human body, its interactions, and then you hear that very first sentence. The man puts his penis inside the vagina of a woman. What does that say? What does that say to young teenage boys? What does that say to young teenage girls? I know that it's going to be funny. They're going to, ridicule it in some way. There's going to be nervous laughter. There's going to be silence. There's going to be embarrassment as well as a teacher talks about sex to a teenager. God. Honestly, people, come on. These are the things that we take for granted, right? A man puts his penis inside of a woman's vagina. Great. Now what? What, you can catch a whole plethora of diseases? God. This is not going well, is it, for the system? So the simple thing is put a coat on it, put a jacket on it, you'll be fine. And what about the woman receiving the emotions? Notice that these things are not talked about. It's not discussed, especially in this country where sexual activity has been frowned upon because of the Victorian age and the Victorian ethos and ideal of thinking, women in long skirts, no promiscuity, all about the family, breed models for a great society. Do that. And then what happens to the woman? Every time I'm going to ask, what happens to the woman? What happens to the daughter? And I might be considered to be unfair, and I'm not being unfair. I'm just concerned because women give birth. Women create life, right? And we've got to live with those creations. We have to bring those creations and teach those creations how to be sacred, how to look inside for the answers to our inner beings. Maybe it's not scientific enough for some. Maybe common sense isn't. But even in a common sense approach I had from being a young person at some point way back when, in fact, I decided to look beyond gender when I connect with someone. And this has always been my way. I'm not looking at what you are. I'm looking at your soul. I couldn't care what you're wearing. I couldn't care what you look like. I'm engaging with your soul, which is your light within. So how do we engage the light within in co-creating our reality? How do we do that? Do we hear our inner beings speak? Gosh, we're at that time already. I've been going on for ages. So if we do not hear our inner beings speak, then we are not listening to where we should be at on our own evolution journey. I'm just going to quickly take that to the next stage of life for a woman. She's probably got teenagers. They're troublesome, rebellious, fighting the mother. The boys fight their mothers. Why? Why do boys fight their mothers? Why do they want to overtake them and control them? What is that? I've experienced it myself. This rebellion against the woman. Take away all rights of mother, of woman. Impose yourself to them with your words and your actions. But it's different now. It's different. This is what we've come through. Now we have the opportunity for sacred mutual peace, to connect to it, to engage with it in our moments of inner reflection. That's what we look for, to gain that clarity and insight as to how we live, how we operate, how we function on this planet. Ooh, mercy me. So, what I'm going to do this broadcast is this clearing is for all women, everywhere. We're going to look at what your codependent streams are within you that keep you phased out in the past under suppressed patriarchy. Oh, dearie me. And we're going to look at the maternal aspect too, because we've all been mothers. Some will be mothers in the past, other people will be mothers in the future, other people might be mothers right now. We just need to engage with that female part of us. We're going to do a bit of a round sweep and activate certain positive benefits. Thanks, YouTube. You've got some great things going on. Just going to give a quick promo. Native American flutes, relaxing music, meditation, flute music, 133 hearts, I'm sure. Breathe and relax. Breathe and relax. Allowing a light breath in, deep within your soul. Let go of those heavy, stressful layers that sit upon your chest. Allow those layers of maternal stress, burdens, biological baggage from your chest to your torso, to your hips, to your thighs, to your womb, to your legs, knees, calves, ankles. And let go of those stress shells that have kept you bound. Shells of suppression melt away. Remembering your stillness, that still point part of you in a no-time frequency of harmonic relaxation and peace in this 5D reality now. Breathe further, deeper, longer. Expanding the stomach, expanding the light in the central core. Raising your shoulders and relaxing. And allowing your third eye to open with your eyes closed. And look deep within your inner being. The inner being that has a voice. The voice that was never heard. You could be a man or a woman. You could be masculine or feminine. But hear the voice of your inner being. The quiet one that never speaks out loud. Breathe and connect to your inner being that is you. Going deeper into you in this moment, allowing all restrictions of maternal stress to dissipate. All that who enter here, past, present and future, will receive the benefits of clearing the past, maternal imprints, female imprints, imprints from relationships, imprints from your relationship with self. More peace to the heart, more peace to your inner being. your voice, the inner part, the most deepest part of you. Breathe into the throat, past the stress. In this moment, I ask, as I ask for myself, that we engage at levels of higher frequency beingness directly with our inner being, free from the noise of the day, free from the sounds of the screaming, arguing, children, life, work, partners, scenarios, traffic, whatever it is. Tune it out of your inner being. As you tune in to the deepest part of you, as we journey to central nervous system and begin a beautiful reset process. Allowing your inner being to take over and reset your central nervous system. Reset, realign, re-add peace to your stream of inner being. Bringing that vibration of peace into your divine harmonic. Taking a moment of realization as you let go of fear. Fear of being hurt, fear of being raped, fear of being abused, fear of the system monitoring your children. Feel the old belief systems leave your system so you can truly be free in your own thoughts, in your own words, in your own expression as a woman. Allow your throat to clear through the cellular levels, the larynx, lungs, the heart. Bringing your voice, your inner being into sacred neutral alignment. If you need to cry the tears, cry. If you need to let go of pain, let go. If you have a partner that doesn't treat you right, or somebody in your life that doesn't treat you in the right way, you know exactly what I mean by that. Let them go. Forgive them. For the next time round, you will choose better and attract better. Allow more peace into the body. Nurture it. Let's help it to grow. As creators of our own reality, the seed of you, the seed of your dreams, your hopes, your prayers, cultivated with peace. Oops. Allowing your seed to grow within your core, within your womb. Allow it to grow up through the stomach, up through the intestines, stomach, through the core, your voice. Allow your throat to become free, clearing out all the compression, blockages, patterns, and fear. Allow more clarity into the throat. Connect your womb to your throat and allow your voice to emanate. Breathe, make a sound, feel. Feel you. It's okay. You are beautiful and amazing. Remember that. And this meditation guided journey is devoted to all younger women out there throughout this universe, throughout our planet. I give thanks for you being here, daughters of Earth. I give thanks for your expression of self. I give thanks for your existence as divine creatresses of new life, new possibilities, new worlds. You can birth them all. Birth yourself. Birth your female line. You can all do this. As we connect to the inner being within us all, we connect to the masculine and feminine within us. We shed baggage from these aspects and bring more light, more peace to these systems in full reset. Reset. So you know. Resetting the male, resetting the female. Recalibrate those aspects into your inner being in divine balance. And that's okay, because you are balanced. You feel a balanced perspective. As we say a prayer for all mothers who've just given birth or have very young ones, we release the impact and stresses from your pregnancies. If you have received medical intervention of any kind to your womb, of any age, we bring you peace to that co-creative area of you, through your cells, through your light body, through your light photonic forms. Allowing that to spread out into your hips, creating space, movement and flow. As you ground your female energy to the earth, daughter of earth, again we give thanks, we give joy, and we give blessings for these shared moments. For I speak without spell. Allowing that deeper sacred peace to infuse your week and the 7 full days oncoming ahead. Co-creating your peace with your existence, with the quantum world at your very natural fingertips. You are beyond quantum in your multiversal self. Make it so. When you use your abilities to create peace for yourself, in your soul, in your inner being, manifest now. Thank your inner being. Give gratitude to your inner being. For it has been with you all this time. With you at every step of the way in this lifetime. Allow her voice to be heard in this world. It matters. Allow her voice to speak the truth of existence, even when being opposed by many or none. Co-creating peace with your inner being has never been so easy, because it's what your inner being wants. And then everything else will grow from there. Hold your peace. Hold your serenity. Hold your beauty in the heart. Define your boundaries as a woman. And relax. Come back to the world. Come back to the heart. Come back to beingness. Come back to inner beingness. Come home to the beauty of your soul. Because she can do great things. And I give thanks for that. So, lovely people, past, present and future, thank you for joining me this evening. My name is Angela Miller. This is Women's Work podcast on a very fabulous expanded understanding. If you wish to contact me, you can do so at Concordia Spiritual Activation. Now put it up here. Come join our women's voyage, to be launched soon. This is a specific journey for women to activate, reconnect, clear emotional baggage from the body, from the soul, and activate dormant gifts and skills that you incarnated with. This is a program designed for women who want to achieve liberation in their own experience in a very beautiful and positive way for you. So, without further ado, I shall leave you with love, not love you and leave you with love from my heart to yours. Thanks again for joining me this evening, and blessings. Thanks, Willow. I missed off the M on that other one. Or at least it was on a different line. It didn't compute for me. Yep, so thank you everyone for joining me this evening. I love you. You're great. Do great things. And I'll see you all next week for another outing with Women's Work podcast. And I look forward to seeing you all then. Good night. Blessings wherever you are.